Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about transit Neptune conjunct one's natal Mercury. Now, we're talking about transits that involve Neptune. They could manifest in dissipation, dissolving, idealism, a lot of inspiration and hope, but also deception and duplicity. Now, when transit Neptune contacts one's natal Mercury, well, this might be expressed in dissipation, idealism, inspiration, deception, duplicity. It could be in matters of communication. It can be where people might people might be a little bit more deceptive in what they're saying than usual, even the people that he might have seen as having a lot of honesty and integrity. But it could also be idealism in matters with communication, such as writing something and getting it published and being inspired to do so. It can also be about, Mercury is connected with learning and assimilating information. So it can be a time when you might be learning about Neptune subjects, such as it could be things with boating, fishing, aquatics, oceanography, chemistry, poetry, dancing, and metaphysical, which includes astrology, spirituality. It might be too as well where you might need more isolation to do this, as well as Neptune is connected with that. Now, another thing too is that Mercury is also associated with analysis, so it might be a little bit more confusing trying to analyze things you might not have, trying to get the details or not always seeing all the details when you're trying to do so at this time. And keep in mind, Mercury is also connected with siblings, cousins, and neighbors. So these people might be taking on perhaps more deceptive or duplicitous qualities. It might be that these people might seem a little bit more nebulous and unclear as opposed to how you've seen them previously. They may be, in some cases, one or more of these people may be succumbing to some kind of alcohol or drug related situation. You might find yourself doing more self-sacrificing for these people at this time. Now, Mercury is also associated with short journeys and local transportation. Now, some cases this could be might involve taking more convoluted short journeys, going to, you might feel like you're driving into a maze or dealing with more foggy conditions. You might experience a chemical leak from your car at this time, or some issue with some chemical uh, that may be in your vehicle. Might be a time to, I mean, when you look at Mercury, anatomically speaking, it's connected to the hands, the arms, the lungs, breathing, nerves, and also the brain. So this could be a time where you might be experiencing certain weakening of the hands, or of the arms or lungs. It could be, some cases could be a misdiagnosis of one or more of these things at this time. You might be diagnosed with, some sprain or something with the hand that you might find out later. It could be some nerve related issue, as an example, or something of a more serious nature, carpal tunnel. It could be a time to, keep in mind that, you're talking about, Mercury can be connected with the brain, so you might find at this time you might be more brain, or it could be like brain fog, or it could be some kind of like a memory lapse you might be dealing with it, because this could manifest in the dissolving or dissipation of one's memory. Um, it can be a timing when you look at this as well. You're talking about Mercury is connected with the rational mind, the rational thinking. So it might be a time where that might even be dissolving for some people when they do have this transit. It's very critical transit, because a lot of people will not even get this in their lifetime, because of the long transit that Neptune has. No one's going to experience Neptune going through all their houses in their lifetime. Keep in mind, a lot of people won't even experience Uranus going through all their houses during their lifetime, because it takes Uranus around 84 years to traverse, the 12, complete circle in your chart, go through all 12 houses. So Neptune is, of course, the transit Neptune lasts considerably longer on average. So, it does last longer every time. It traverses 12 signs. But anyway, uh, what this brings me to is an example. I mean, there's a prominent family member that had this transit. It was on or around February 4th, 1974, when her husband had succumbed to Hodgkin's disease and he passed away. And I think it's possible she may have had some nervous breakdown at this time. Now, I don't, transit Neptune may not have been, in a conjunction to a natal Mercury as far as orbs go that we use, but we don't, I mean, still, that being said, I don't think we can definitively say that a planet won't feel a vibration from another transiting planet if it's 5, 6, 7 degrees away from it at that time. And she had this transit in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is that sign of enlargement and distortion. And sadly, it was just the timing of this was not exactly impeccable, because you have a transit like this, and Neptune again can be, when it contacts Mercury, could manifest in the dissolving of the rational thinking. And she's having a prominent family member pass away at the time. It's really not, that timing of this was just simply not good, and it could be a situation where she may never recover from it. But anyway, I want to talk also, this transit can manifest in Neptune-related learning and analysis. Say if this is in Scorpio, as an example, it could be doing manifest in a lot of chemical analysis, for which, I mean, chemicals, of course, could be connected with Neptune analysis, Mercury, but maybe for criminal investigation, which can be associated with Scorpio. Now, in some isolated remote cases, remember, Neptune can also be connected with disappearances. It could be about a disappearance of a sibling, a cousin, a neighbor at this time. It may not be a literal disappearance, but they might be going, one or more of these people may be going into some kind of isolation or finding solitude and seclusion, maybe to deal with their own personal problems. It could just be simply that they need time alone to meditate or relax or what have you, and not be around others at this time. If it's if it's in Capricorn, as an example, it could be for career-related reasons. It might just be simply that they're being dominated by career interests and ambitions at that time. And also, too, as I was stating before, we're talking about Mercury being associated with short journeys. Neptune is very convoluted energy. It can be very chaotic in convoluted short journeys, and could be something where you're not getting the right directions, or for something, or the directions might be missing some details. It could be something too where, as far as where you're going and your destination is, and keep in mind too that Neptune can also be about flooding. So be very careful this time while driving, that you're not might have been inadvertently getting submerged and hitting a pothole if you're dealing with heavy rain and flooding conditions at this time. It could be the flooding of a vehicle, but also even maybe something with a neighbor's home, or a sibling or a cousin that well might be dealing with some kind of issues with flooding at this time. Remember too, Mercury is connected with its communication, which can include writing. Now, it might be a time too where this might be expressed in you writing about a Neptune subject. It could be something, could be doing poetry. It could be writing about the metaphysical, which includes astrology, chemistry, photography, dancing, things of a fantastical nature. Say if this is in Sagittarius, or it could be something with sports. This could be something too. Now, in isolated cases, keep in mind Mercury is also associated with eyesight. Now, in isolated cases, this might manifest in very, weakened or dissolved eyesight. It could be in some cases that a chemical exposure might have impacted your vision adversely. And also could be about faded memory, because remember, as I was stating earlier, just to reiterate this, that it could be about the dissolving and dissipation of the memory. Something could happen where you might not be remembering the things that you ordinarily did previously, especially if you're at an older age and you're experiencing this transit at that time. Hold on a moment, people. Now, another thing too, some cases it could be a deterioration of the hands or the arms, it could be the strength in them. Um, it might be a time to where, keep in mind, Neptune is also associated with imprisonment and incarceration. So it could be about being imprisoned in some cases for, it could be theft or plagiarism or slander. Now, it may not necessarily be you, but I mean, depending on the house it's in, that could play a role in it. If it's in the fourth house, for example, it could be a prominent family member, or it could be the mother or the less dominant parent. The seventh house, maybe it's an open adversary. Maybe you actually be happy if it transpires, or somebody you're in a somebody that you might have as a close friendship or a significant other in some cases. And really, it's the only other thing I want to state, that this could also be, remember that Neptune is connected with the immune system, so it can be some difficulty with lungs due to a diminished or weakened immune system, like something with pneumonia at this time as well, especially if you have this in the first or sixth house in your natal chart, because the first house, of course, is connected with the physical body. Sixth house can correspond with physical issues and debilitations. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard, stay well.